Hello everybody, this was made with the help of many people over at the Geeks for Fun Discord server. I have my own channel there and we discuss through this what if and different scenarios and stuff like that. In particular, I want to thank Warpy for helping me out a lot with this. I'll leave their YouTube channel down in the description below. Anyways, I hope you enjoy.
War runs the galaxy. While the Jedi Knights and Clone Troopers stand on the battlefield, the separatists look outside their own for help. In an effort to turn the tide of battle, Count Dooku approaches the outer rim planet of Vegeta in order to enlist the forces of the Saiyans by his side. The Saiyans are a powerful race with a strong connection to the Force, but they largely work as mercenaries under the highest bidder. However, like every race, there are exceptions to that rule.
We pan over the ship of Count Dooku, arriving over planet Vegeta. He lands in the upper levels, close to the castle. His apprentice, Asajj Ventress, waits in the ship, meaning that this takes place early in the stages of the Clone Wars. As Dooku steps out of the ship, he is greeted by a line of Saiyans, who kneel down before their king. King Vegeta approaches Dooku as if an old friend, and the two men give each other a handshake.
Welcome to our humble planet, my dear Dooku. So you've finally taken the throne, you old fool. It's been far too long. Over 30 years, I still remember you and Qui-Gon coming here to settle the dispute with the Tuffles. Yes, though I hear war erupted regardless not long after.
King Vegeta laughs dismissively, and he invites Dooku into the castle. There, the two discuss the state of the galaxy. Dooku is trying to convince the king to have the Saiyans join in the side of the separatists, but the king is not interested. The Saiyans were a very ancient race, though not many people know of their origin. Dooku knew that it was to his advantage to have them by his side. The Saiyans are a race with a loose link to the dark side. Though they are not wise in it, they are able to use it in the form of bursts of Force Lightning and Force Push. They possess incredible fighting skills and are freakishly strong, even rivaling Wookiees. However, their most terrifying asset is their tail, as they are able to transform into monstrous giant monkeys once exposed to enough blood waves.
We prefer to be neutral. I don't know if we should take on the business of this war.
Dooku is getting impatient, telling the king to dismiss his guards. King Vegeta accepts, and Dooku continues on, trying to explain how the mercenaries would make a great addition to the separatists. But this time he waves his hand under the table. Dooku knows that the king isn't strong-minded and could potentially be convinced through the use of the Force. Of course, while Saiyans are strong in some aspects of the Force, they are mostly brutes with weak minds. At least, according to Dooku. Peeking out of the doorway, the Saiyan prince realizes what's going on. He is petrified to see his father so easily convinced, and had no choice but to ignore it. It was settled. Dooku and King Vegeta had reached an agreement for the separatists to be supported by some of the Saiyans. Their ability to transform into giant creatures would be of great use during the battles against the large clone battalions. Dooku leaves the planet soon after. The king directs his officers to inform the elites that jobs will be allowed to be taken on from the separatists. However, not all Saiyans wish to support that faction. Though they are ruled by one king, they are more or less divided into their own clans, and are more free to choose what they want to do, though most listen to their king. On the other side of the war, in the cloning facilities of Kamino, a Saiyan warrior stands opposed to the separatists. He isn't the only one, as a handful of Saiyans were already hired by the Republic. Their expertise are used to train clone troopers, as well as occasionally lead battalions into war zones, along with Jedi Knights. This time, a Saiyan warrior named Bardock trained a small band of clones as they got ready to be deployed.
Listen up, troopers. You are clones out there. Soldiers, but above all, brothers. You need to act as a team, you got that? My old squadron and I learned that the hard way.
A cheer comes from the crowd of troopers. The Kaminoans obtained help from Bardock and his squad because of Jango Fett's recommendation. Bardock and Fett were once rivals in the bounty hunting business, but now Bardock was done with that. He's just an honest man trying to make a living in the galaxy. Though he was a harsh trainer, he also cared about his troops. He fiercely defended the troops from the Kaminoans, who often saw them as nothing more than tools. Even the Jedi seemed to share that sentiment. As a low-class warrior, he knew what it was like to be used in that way. He became attached to many members of the 182nd Legion. In particular, one trooper who called himself Mato. The trooper adorned his armor with various cloths from the planets he had gone to. After some time, both the Jedi and the Republic acknowledged Bardock's skill, paying him to lead the troops and help the Jedi in battle. One of the many missions was to the planet Felucia. Bardock was paired up with a female Jedi. Here we see that the Jedi and Bardock have many arguments, and find it difficult to work with one another. Bardock does not care for the Jedi, and he is very disrespectful. The Jedi Order doesn't trust many Saiyans anyways, because of their link to the dark side. But something happened during the Felucia mission. They were ambushed by a group of super battle droids and a strange four-armed cyborg. Something was very familiar about this cyborg to Bardock, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Regardless, the encounter was brief. As the moon rose and Bardock transformed into an Ozaru, the Jedi hid away along with the clones, trying to hide her face. While doing this, she is shot down. She's gravely hurt. However, Bardock is able to defend everybody, at least for a while, allowing them to get close to their escaped ships. That is, until the cyborg uses both his lightsaber and his metallic tail to cut through Bardock's tail, making Bardock de-transform into a humanoid form. Though the Jedi is hurt and hiding her face, she uses force pull to pull Bardock close to them. It's not over yet though. Bardock watches as Mato is murdered in front of his eyes while defending him and his brothers. Bardock recuperates, taking the blood-drenched cloth from Mato's arm and putting it around his head, ready to continue the battle. He uses both blasters and his limited force abilities to keep the droids and cyborg at bay. The Jedi helps how she can as well. The clones surround Bardock and the Jedi as he tries to help her. Bardock lifts her up and feels that there's something underneath her cloak. It was a tail hidden by her cape. His eyes widen and he realizes that this Jedi is a Saiyan as well. That's why she was trying to hide her face. She can't afford to transform into an Ozaru. She might not be able to control it. Bardock asks who exactly she is.
I am one of the only Saiyans to become a Jedi. My name is Gine. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before, but being a Saiyan Jedi is especially dangerous.
A Saiyan Jedi? That's the first I've ever heard of it, but we have to get out of here. Can you move?
Nothing a medical droid couldn't fix.
The clones rush over to help her to the transport, but the cyborg approaches quickly. Bardock tells the pilot to hurry and take off. They start to fly off, but the cyborg leaps towards the ship, though the gunner tries to keep him at bay. The cyborg uses his lightsaber to deflect the fire. Bardock concentrates all of his power and fires off force lightning, knocking down the cyborg. This causes Bardock to become gravely ill and falls back, as the dark side takes a toll on his body. Even for a Saiyan, the force lightning blast like that could mean death. Gine is a little afraid of the power she just witnessed, but dismisses it. As the clones try to take care of them, the team escapes, with Bardock and Gine being escorted back to Kamino. Once there, the two get to have a talk. She asks him how someone could have the dark side power like that, and Bardock asks if it's any different from her being a Jedi. She admits that she knows very little of the Saiyans, as she was taken to the Jedi Temple as a baby. Though the Jedi don't usually bother with Saiyans, she was born with a presence unlike many others, one pure and hopeful. Bardock scoffs at the idea, but explains a small legend. According to him, there was a civil war amongst the Saiyans in their native homeworld thousands of years ago. During that time, a group of Saiyans who were very well versed in the Force used their abilities and knowledge of both the dark side and light side to end the conflict. A Saiyan whose name is lost to legend channeled the Force in such a way that it seemed that he was glowing, and even his appearance changed. According to the legend, it is thanks to those events that the descendant Saiyans have been naturally born with a connection to the Force. Gine is silent when Master Shakti enters the room. She's thankful to have them both alive and well. Gine asks what the hell the cyborg was, and Bardock interrupts her. He says that he saw the Saiyan royal symbol on his chest. Shakti acknowledges this, saying that she and some other Jedi had encountered the cyborg. He was a Saiyan, King Vegeta. Bardock's eyes widened, and through flashback we are shown what happened. Not long after their first meeting, Dooku arrived once again at planet Vegeta. He visited multiple times requesting more Saiyan mercenaries, and it was getting tiresome. King Vegeta looked weak and frail. After all, Dooku was influencing his actions through the Force. He even had the king send away a baby because Dooku felt a great ripple through the Force once he saw him. The baby's father, Paragus, followed after him, and they were never seen again. One day, the king finally broke and attacked Dooku in his chamber. King Vegeta was no match for Count Dooku, though he did put up a fight. He was, after all, one of the most powerful Saiyans. In the end, the Sith Lord took down the king and brought him over to his ship. On the way to the ship, Saiyan guards attempted to stop him, but he easily pushed them aside with either mind tricks or force push. That was until he was confronted by Prince Vegeta. The prince had witnessed the whole thing, and when Dooku attempted to mind trick him, it didn't work. Dooku was impressed and complimented the boy on being stronger than his father mentally. He told Vegeta that the king would return, and Dooku left, but not before Vegeta tried to fire at Dooku. However, Ventress jumped in front of her master, with her sabers protecting him. She was ready to kill the kid, but Dooku told her to stand down. The Sith then leave the planet. We're now in the present, zooming out of King Vegeta's cyborg face. He hides within one of the towers of Vegeta's castle, watching as Dooku appoints a new figurehead for the planet. The new king declares that the war has gone on for far too long, and more forces will be needed. The Saiyans boo. They didn't want to partake in the war any longer. They liked doing jobs from either side, and they were starting to be treated like soldiers, not mercenaries. Prince Vegeta was disgusted in the background, leaving along with Nappa. The prince would grow resentful of both the Republic and the separatists. Not only had the war taken his father, but also his throne. There wasn't much he could do, knowing Dooku's power. Though he did try to rally up the Saiyans by telling them what happened, most of them didn't believe him. They too were under the influence of Dooku, and perhaps something greater, the Dark Lord of the Sith. The Saiyans were divided in the war, as some went against the separatists in protest, ironically supporting the war they wished to stay neutral in. Winners could often be decided by either side with Ozarus, though many battles were usually fought during the day. Even so, Saiyans who were captured by either side had their tails cut off in a cruel manner of punishment. Bardock and Guinea continued to lead missions, making a great team together, and the two managed to find themselves in battle against Asajj Ventress multiple times, even after she had left Dooku. They even supported great heroes such as General Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka Tano, and Anakin Skywalker. Speaking of Obi-Wan, King Vegeta proved to be an incredible adversary during the Utapau battle. He had escaped capture by the Jedi many times, but not this time. In this cyborg form, King Vegeta became proficient in lightsaber skills, as well as increased his natural strength. 2 arms were added to his body, but his connection to the Force was harshly severed and limited. His tail could no longer conduct blood waves, so Ozaru was off limits. However, he wouldn't need it, with how much strength he had gained. Vegeta strikes like a monster every time he hits Obi-Wan. Multiply that by 4 as you count each arm. Obi-Wan is in trouble. Additionally, Vegeta's tail was used as a weapon of its own, even managing to pierce through Obi-Wan's arm. Guinea and Bardock were assigned to partake in the battle as leaders of the clone troopers, while Kenobi infiltrated quietly. Thankfully, Kenobi is an expert duelist and force user, using his skills in clever ways to keep the cyborg at bay. Obi-Wan and Guinea managed to fight side by side in a battle against King Vegeta, where she cuts off the king's tail and 2 of his arms. Obi-Wan uses this to stab Vegeta in the chest with a lightsaber, though this doesn't stop him for good, as it didn't pierce through his armor completely. It did create a hole, however. Guinea is grabbed by the neck and slammed onto the ground, then thrown over at Kenobi. Vegeta tries to get away, but Bardock uses force push to throw the cyborg back at Kenobi, who grabs onto the blaster and shoots down King Vegeta, ending him. The Saiyans recover and continue leading the charge, while Obi-Wan goes to Cody to collect his lightsaber that had been lost during the battle. Just then, the decisive orders are called, Order 66. As Guinea and Bardock hunt down the separatist leaders with their forces, they feel something in the Force. They turn around and see they are surrounded by their own clone troopers. Something is very wrong. Thinking quickly, Guinea pushes them off with the Force from every direction. Blaster bolts go off everywhere as the clones fall down. They had fired at them. Bardock and Guinea rush off to their ship, but they won't be able to dodge much longer. They see from far away that Obi-Wan is shot down from his mount. Can't save him. The two get in their starfighters just in time, blasting off into space. However, we see that the clone troopers are already contacting the newly announced Emperor and telling him that the Saiyans were on the run. Bardock and Guinea take route to planet Vegeta in hopes of hiding while everything cools off. The galaxy slowly succumbs to the rule of the Empire, though it took some time for the Outer Realm worlds to be affected. The Emperor made it a point to ensure that Force users were taken care of quickly, starting with the Jedi. To him, the Saiyans were nothing but monkeys. But those monkeys could be dangerous. A few years into the Empire's rule, planet Vegeta devolved into civil war. The civilization was broken because of the war, and Bardock and Guinea lived far away from most of the conflict, quietly. They tried to avoid the full moon and any of the other Saiyans. They heard that the prince almost replaced the king that was put in place by the separatists, but many didn't support him. The prince was exiled along with his loyal Nappa. Or maybe he left at will? It wasn't truly clear. During their time hiding, Bardock and Guinea ended up with 2 children, Kakarot and Raditz. Yes, that means they are much closer in age than their original story, while Vegeta and Broly are much older. And they live peacefully as farmers far away from the city. It seems as if they have escaped their fate. One day, a huge Star Destroyer zooms over the landscape. Behind it is a space station under construction, though it took some time to reach the planet. Out of the Star Destroyer come out TIE fighters that spread all over the planet. They came in order to drain resources from the planet, steal technology, and kill the Jedi that was rumored to live there. Bardock yells back at Guinea to hide the kids, when the door of the house is blasted open. 5 stormtroopers enter the house.
"Hand over the Jedi,"
they said. However, Bardock begins blasting at the troopers, allowing his family to escape from the house. He runs after them. However, the house breaks apart behind them. The rubble is pushed apart by Darth Vader, walking towards them. Guinea tells her kids to go with Bardock as she leaps back to fight the monster. They didn't know what it was, who it was, but Guinea felt a strange, familiar presence.
"I should have known it would be you, Jedi."
Guinea looks confused, but she strikes Vader over and over again. She's no match for the tremendous abilities of the Sith. Bardock doesn't want to leave Guinea, but he at least has to get his kids to safety first. Their ships weren't too far away. However, Bardock hears Guinea's screams as she's pushed back into the rubble of the house. Vader then turns to Bardock, using the Force to pull them close. Bardock manages to jump out of the way with Kakarot, and he tries to get Raditz, but Raditz is caught and grabbed by Vader. Guinea bursts out of the rubble, throwing her lightsaber at Vader. This strikes his armor, but he simply lifts her up with the Force, choking her. Guinea slowly dies. Raditz starts to bang against Vader. Even a child Saiyan was incredibly strong, and he manages to knock over Vader. Bardock takes this chance to throw Kakarot into one of the ships, blasting it off. He then turns back, blasting at Vader. He sees as Vader knocks out Raditz with a simple chop to the neck.
"Shame I had to kill the mother, but your child will become a fine addition to the Empire."
Never!
Bardock said, punching Vader across the face. Bardock unleashes a string of lightning against Vader, but the Sith Lord uses the lightsaber to defend himself. Vader reflects the lightning back at Bardock, knocking him down.
I don't fear you!
"Then you will die braver than most."
Vader is going to kill Bardock, when a huge shadow covers them. Bardock stares at it, and he feels his heart pounding. Everything is silenced. Vader looks back, and he realizes that Death Star had reached them. What he didn't realize was that the Death Star emitted blood waves similar to a moon of that size. Vader jumps back, holding onto Raditz. Thankfully, he was unconscious, so he couldn't transform without looking at the Death Star. Bardock, on the other hand, becomes a monstrous Ozaru. All around planet Vegeta, Ozaru began attacking stormtroopers that arrived to take the resources. The Empire hadn't taken into account how the Death Star could affect the Saiyans. Vader gives the order to take whatever resources they captured and return to the Star Destroyer. As he said this, Bardock punches the ground towards him, but Vader jumps out of the way. Vader defends himself with a lightsaber, which burns Bardock's giant fists every time he gets close. Vader is pushed to the edge. The Ozaru is far too fast for him. At one point, he's even punched, not being able to dodge. This breaks apart his mask. However, Vader knows his weakness. He rushes in between the Ozaru's leg, slashing through Bardock's tail. This makes him transform back into a regular Saiyan. In the distance, Vader hears the roars of Ozaru, and he feels the ground shaking. He can't waste more time. More Ozaru could get there soon. Bardock is very hurt, but he slowly stands up, taking Guinea's saber.
This is for my destiny. My son's destiny. The destiny of planet Vegeta. And yes, even your stupid destiny. Die!
With the last of his strength, Bardock runs towards Vader with his wife's lightsaber. However, Vader dodges out of the way, just as he cuts through Bardock. The Saiyan falls to the ground, dead. Vader calls down his TIE fighter, taking Raditz with him. and returning to the Star Destroyer. Once up there, Vader stares down at planet Vegeta. The Ozaru make the planet shake as they fight each other and the stormtroopers. It made Vader realize why the Emperor wanted to keep a few alive. They were incredibly powerful, but too dangerous to be kept at large. Vader turns back as Grand Moff Tarkin gives the order to fire at will. There are whispers from the crew, since not everyone is back at the ship, but they couldn't argue against him. In the blink of an eye, planet Vegeta is destroyed. However, there's still hope for the Saiyan race, as the young Kakarot lands on a distant planet. But that will be for another episode. Thanks for watching, guys. This was a lot of fun to make. I hope you enjoyed. I know it's a little wacky, a little weird. It was kind of hard to work the Saiyans into the Star Wars universe, but it was a fun exercise. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. I've started to shout out people in each video, so shout out to these guys who answered the Dragon Ball question of the week. If you want a chance to be shouted out in this way, then answer the question this time with #DBQ. The Dragon Ball question of the week this week is: what characters in Dragon Ball you think would be Jedi or Sith, Empire or Rebellion? Leave it in the comments down below and start a discussion. Anyways, until we meet again. See ya!
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Smugstick, unless you want to be destroyed.
Lord Beerus, that's hardly fair. But also, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when he uploads new videos.